Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Jeremy Scott Fitness Podcast Radio Show, coming to you on this Sunday, October 27th, 2024. Hopefully, it finds you staying safe and staying sweaty all at the same time. On today's episode, we are just sharing a few random lessons in business, but you guys, like anything we do here, you can apply it to your fitness, you can apply it to life, and pretty much everywhere in between. Before we jump in, a couple of housekeeping things. One, Jeremy Scott Fitness app is live and rocking. You guys know it. JeremyScottFitness.app. You guys get a week for free, always on me. All my weekly workouts are in there. They'll be loaded later on today for the new week coming up. Right now, we have a bulk of our people in our 12-week Total Body Ultimate Transformation Program. That is kind of like the best of BJ Gaddour stuff and my stuff. You can join at any time. They're about on week 3 right now. What we have in the app coming up so far this year, we have an ultimate lower body trainer, and then we're going to do a kind of upper lower split, 4-day a week, kind of 6-day program that's popping out. And then as the new year kicks along, we'll do our 47-day, we'll do our rebuild, and we'll talk about this ultimate trainer too. But we will do I want to say kind of like a Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale deal coming on. So that'll be up there for you guys. But if you're looking for something to do right now, get moving before the new year. JeremyScottFitness.app. You guys get a week for free on me. And then you guys already know the one thing I take every single day and I never miss. Shout out to my friends at AG1. If you guys want a year's supply of free vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with order one, drinkag1.com/Jeremy Scott gets you guys hooked up. But if you guys want a free sample, 100% on me, no questions asked, just reach out to us. We will send you a sample right to your front door. I don't care where you live. I'm happy to get it to you guys. Honestly, I take it every day because it's easy, it's simple, it's the best tasting in my opinion. It's an easy way for me to get my gut health on point. It does cover the gaps in my eating. I eat as much real food as I can, but I'm not going to eat 10 to 12 servings of veggies every day. I do my best, and this kind of helps me get there with what I don't get with real food. On top of that, what we're doing for the month of November is anybody who picks up their AG1 in November, we're doing a bonus prize each and every week. So if you guys just go to the site, drinkag1.com/Jeremy Scott, you'll see what the bonus prize is on top of the free stuff if you want to pick it up. So a little added incentive for you guys. So if you got a question, just ask, but it's basically like a special kind of Black Friday offer that starts all of November for anybody who wants to pick it up. So message me for a free sample. Otherwise, the site is there. All the other sponsors in the show notes here. We have the creatine that I use. If you guys want a discount, it's always in here. JLab, where you get our protein, turmeric, our collagen, our krill oils, always hook you guys up. Our friends at dryfarmswines.com, which is kind of Heather's sponsor for the podcast, which she's not partaking at the moment, but it is her favorite wine, hands down. And then everything else you guys can find here if you want info on our mastermind group or any of the gear that I wear, sleepsoldseparately.com. And then we'll be doing some stuff with Free Fly here. I can barely talk. Later on as well. So always a mouthful. And so here we are. The episode today, we're going a few random lessons in business that I've learned and just some things that kind of help you guys on your journey as we wrap up the year and head into 2025. Full disclaimer, I was supposed to have some guests on here the last couple episodes, but life happens. And so I'm here to deliver for you guys regardless. But the one thing I do want to share before I jump in, I think Heather had sent me this actually, and it's from, I believe the Instagram is Conscious Parent is the name, if I'm saying that right, conscious.parent over on IG. She posts a bunch of good stuff. I thought it was important for anybody who is kind of my age or kind of in that, you're old range is what I like to call it. And I don't mean that like in a negative way, but like if you're around my age and you're in your 40s, you're not a 22-year-old anymore. Like when you go to the bar, like you're the creepy person who's there. You're no longer like the young, fit kid. You know what I mean? Like you're just not hip anymore. Like I have kids come in here and say like, that's so Riz. I'm like, I don't even know what you're saying right now. Like that's how I know I'm officially in the midlife tipping point. And that's kind of the post here. It's just this, from ages 36 to 40, things start to crumble. What doesn't serve you no longer remains. Relationships break, the shedding of old is painful, but then you start a refresh at 40. Midlife is unbecoming to become your authentic self. Midlife is learning loss, parenting as you begin to see your parents age, choosing life as death surrounds you, and living fully with faith the truth of midlife. And basically, it's just saying like as 40, it's like a magical age. It's a difficult age, but it's when things kind of break open, and the things that fall apart actually begin to kind of rebuild again. And so I think a lot of you guys probably feel the same way. Not that it's like it crumbles, but you have some perspective where it's like the things that you used to worry about, you realize like are complete horseshit and bullshit, and they don't matter anymore. And hopefully, when you kind of reach that midlife point, like there comes some sense of learning and maybe intelligence, and you just start to see things a little bit differently, and hopefully living life like on your own terms. Like when you're 16, 15, 17, 18, 19, 20, 25, you're doing things sometimes for other people. You want to look fancy. You're trying to identify certain things. And hopefully when you reach this kind of sweet spot, you start to do the things for yourself. Also, I stumbled on this as well, and I thought it was a gem to share with you guys. I think Tyler English threw it out the other day, and you've always known this, but it dawned on me probably more clear than it ever was, where he threw out a little post that said, if the grocery store has a health food section, what the hell else is the rest of the store? And that really is as common as that sounds, and as much sense as that makes. It's the first time I really thought about it. If there's a health food section in the grocery store, what the hell is everything else in the store? Just kind of food for thought, because entirely the whole store should be health food. And you guys know just as well as anybody else, a lot of the things in there are not healthy for you. So just something to take with you, put in your pocket as you kind of move through the week this week. So the episode here, I got a bulk of these from my man, Pat Rigsby, where we're talking about just random lessons in life and in business. And obviously, as you head into 2025, you got a weird kind of season of life coming up. There's an election apparently going on. I don't know if you've heard of it, or if you've gotten 87 annoying text messages from people about it, or if you get 47 different mailers every single day at your house. By the way, like, does getting a mailer about a political candidate, whether it's like your mayor or city council or whatever, like really influence you or change your mind? Like maybe it does. Obviously they're doing it. But I'm almost the point where it's like, if you text me one more time who to vote for, like I just don't want to vote for you just because you text me. And it was like so overly annoying. And obviously you guys know that season of life is coming up. The economy is in this weird place that it's in. There is, restructuring. There's people losing jobs and shifting jobs, and AI and tech and all the things are changing. What I can tell you is these things are kind of the tried and true things in business. And I'm not saying, you ever want to work for yourself or have to work for yourself, but I do think it's important to just have an awesome set of skills for yourself, where you become so valuable to the organizations that you work for and that you work with. And you're almost like a linchpin in your company and in your organization. I think that's important for everybody. And so that's essentially where these lessons come from. So if you're somebody who's listening and you're like, well, my job sucks, I don't like it, it's not fun, I'm looking to do something different, whether it maybe is a full career outside of it, or it's a side hustle or a passion project, hopefully this can help you guys kind of point you in the right direction. And I say this a lot, like working for yourself is not easy, and it is not for everybody. But I don't think there's a better time to do it than now. I think, yes, are a lot of industries more saturated? For sure. 50 years ago, though, you couldn't have done the things that like I can do. Like there would be no, if you want to call it Jeremy Scott Fitness 50 years ago. Like I wouldn't have had the technology. I wouldn't have had, the computer at my fingertips. I wouldn't have had this, essentially iPhone that, is more powerful than the same systems they ran the country with, 30 years ago. I wouldn't be able to have like Sean come in here and film our stuff, and just the audio and everything that we're able to do and the people that we're able to reach. So what I'm saying to you is it is leveled the playing field for a lot of people. It's gotten rid of a lot of gatekeepers. And so if you're passionate about something and you want to work your ass off and you want to learn a skill that can help people, this is the best time in your life that you could possibly ever do it. And I really do believe that for everybody. Even if you feel like, well, there's no more room for, fitness people. There's no more room for social media people, or for camera people, or for real estate people. No. There's no more room for shitty people. But there's always room for good people who show up on time and work their fucking ass off. Like those people are always needed, and they're always in demand. And that goes the same thing with pipe fitters and plumbers and construction people. Like when I find good people, like I hold on to them and I keep them. And all of you guys can be that in anything that you do. And that's essentially what these lessons are here today. So the first one is there's plenty of money to go around. There really is. I know it doesn't seem like that at times. Obviously, I think your government fucked the money for sure. The inflation is much higher than I believe it is. Things cost more than they ever have. And I think everybody feels that, from the richest to the poorest people. But there is plenty of money out there in the system. You just have to find, in my opinion, your right audience and your right tribe. It's the time and money aspect. It's in our industry, for example, like that's the two biggest barriers we get is like, why can't you come exercise? Well, it's I don't have the time and I don't have the money. And we've shared this on here before. I drove here this morning at about probably, 6:15, 6:30, and it's a Sunday. And the Starbucks that I drove by on the way here had no less than, I think, 6 cars waiting in the drive-thru. Now those people are all sitting there spending time waiting to pay for overpriced coffee. That's a time and money thing. So the money is out there. It's just like, what are you offering to people and how much value do they see in it? And obviously, like as I sit here, it's Sunday morning, the NFL's on. There's people sitting there watching a football game for 3 hours, spending $500 for a ticket. So the money is out there. It's just like, what value can you provide to people? And you just have to find the right people. It's like if you're offering, let's say something like, hey, you're starting a barber shop. Well, I've shaved my head for the last 3 years because I basically look like Bruce Willis at this point. I'm not your tribe. I can't pay you. Like, there's nothing you can do for me. But my cameraman, Sean's got a beautiful head of hair. He probably needs a haircut. So I'm saying, like, you need to find the right people to serve. And the same thing goes for whether you're in fitness or whatever industry you're in. You might just be talking to the wrong audience and you just haven't found your market yet or your tribe yet. But I promise you, if what you're doing is good, if you can get it right in front of the right audience, like, you guys will be successful. The second one is the biggest limitation, or I guess the first limitation to finding wealth or just finding money in general, is thinking that there is like a limit to it, and there's not. You have to have like an abundance mentality instead of this like scarcity mentality. And it's hard to do if you come from a place of like no money and not having anything. And that's how I came about fitness, where I felt like, well, I'm scared to hire somebody because I don't have enough money to pay them, or I'm scared to take a chance here. I don't want to lose here. And it's easier when you have margin in your business and when you have margin in your life. But for a lot of people, the biggest, if not the first limitation they have, is thinking that there is a ceiling on a lot of the stuff that they can do. And I'm a realist as well. If you're listening to this, you're 37 years old and you're like, hey, I want to be the quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. But that's probably not realistic, dude. Like, there's probably a ceiling there for you and the ship probably sailed. I go, but if you want to have like an awesome landscaping business, like, there is an abundance out there for you. There's enough lawns to cut. There's enough pools to clean. There's what I'm saying? Like, no matter what it is out there. But you have to have this abundance mentality versus the scarcity mentality. And in our industry, in fitness specifically, if you guys are listening, a lot of times we feel like if we don't, or I'll put it this way, the people who aren't great think like if somebody else does awesome, it takes away from like what they can do. And it's just not true. Like, there's 5 gyms within a baseball's throw of where I am right now. And I want them all to be successful. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I want them all to be successful. I want them all to crush. I want them all to help as many people as they can be healthy, eat better, move better, feel better, have a better quality of life, because I believe in the mission. Like, I believe in the craft of what we do. Their success does not take away from my success. There is 6 million fucking people here in the Valley. I cannot possibly serve even a fraction of that. So I just need to help my people, and they need to help their people. So anybody else doing awesome around you doesn't take away from what you're doing, because you can't possibly like work with all the market share. So remember that. The next one on the list, your worth in what you do is determined by the marketplace value. It's not just longevity. I'll talk about the importance of longevity later on here today, but the market decides like how valuable your stuff is or isn't. And sometimes for us, we undervalue our services and what we do. And then there's the people who overvalue their services and what they do. And what I mean is, like, typically, I see it across the board. The best example I could give, it's like, and dudes do this way worse. I've never met a woman who does this, it's typically guys. Like, we think of ourselves like better than we are. You're like Al Bundy. You keep going back to like you threw 4 touchdowns in a high school football game. Like, you still think you're that guy, or you're Napoleon Dynamite. If you ever watched like your Uncle Rico, like you believed if coach would have put you in, you would have won state. You can still throw the football over the mountains. Like, that's you having this unrealistic belief in the stuff that you do, thinking that you're worth way more than you are. Sorry, Uncle Rico. If you were that fucking good, coach would have put you in. Like, he wasn't hating on you. But in business, sometimes we might overvalue our stuff, or we'll undervalue it. And the reality is, the market decides what's good, and the market decides what it wants. And that can be frustrating at times, for sure. If you think about it, Amazon, like, whatever you believe about like the leadership and the work environment and how they treat people, Amazon crushes, and Amazon provides an amazing service that is really unmatched by anything else. We use them all the time here for our business. I talked about this before. I left my MacBook charger in a hotel room. I noticed it when I was here doing a podcast, and by the time I got home, I was already at my front door. Like, it's pretty hard to fuck with that. Like, they really just, they deliver. They solve a problem. If you look at something else, and again, that's where the incentive structure in America is so skewed. I had dinner Friday night with a good friend of mine, Dave Drees, which Sean knows really well also. And Dave and I talked. He's like, "You want to make money?" We're talking about fitness, and he's like, his gym, he sold it about 5 years ago to a girl. That gym is now closed. It no longer exists. And him and I are talking. He goes, "It's a miracle that you still do this." And like, we laugh about it. I am a fitness person deep down, but it takes an extraordinary amount of effort to continually be motivated to do the same thing over and over and over again. And he's like, "If you were to start over, would you do it the same way?" And I'm like, it's hard to say, because now I have an old brain versus a young brain. And like, what I thought was cool versus what I think is cool now is different. And we talked about, well, if you're really going to make money, you basically you play to essentially what people are looking for. And it's like, dudes are creepy, so they're looking to creep on chicks. And not all dudes. I go, and some ladies are too. I go, but it's like the things like gambling does really well. Like, or something like in OnlyFans does really well. And what I mean is, whatever you believe about it or want, like OnlyFans last year did $6.6 billion in revenue. Like, think about that. Like, a site that exists where it's almost like it's like a Uber for whatever people share on there. You can draw your own conclusions. I'm not on the site. I've never been on the site. I don't know. No judgment here. Do whatever makes you happy. I'm like, but it did $6.6 billion last year. Like, you think about that. So obviously there's this massive demand for whatever that thing is. And there's no fitness website, there's no fitness app that's doing $6.6 billion. So that's what I mean, is like, the market's going to decide like what it values. And that's where I come back to, you just have to find your people, and you have to do, like, what you believe in and what you're looking for. But if you're trying to make money, I guess gambling is the thing, or being on OnlyFans is the thing. What a weird kind of world and space we live in. So I understand for people, like, the incentives are completely skewed, but like, what you're doing has to be something that like you really believe in and you really value, and it has to fit the right people every single time. And it doesn't have to be something that's completely like revolutionary. Like, oftentimes it's really just connecting and reassembling ideas enough. Like fitness, for example, like anything we do in this space, it's really just, it's serving people and giving them what they need. And for the most part, it's like, can we solve a problem, right? Like, so, hey, if someone doesn't have great mobility, can we create a mobility program? If somebody wants to be stronger, can we get them into a strength program? If they struggle with their nutrition, can we help them eat a little bit better? If the answer is yes, then we're going to find our market, we're going to serve them. But it's a lot of people who sometimes think like their situation and their business is so different. And that becomes like a huge limiting factor throughout. Like, if you think about it, like, there's no money in finding a reason that something doesn't work. You have to think of it in terms of like solutions versus problems. Like, after you're hearing the problem or the issue, all I go is like, what can I do? Like, how can I make this work? How can I fix this? Like, where can we be? I think that's the biggest thing that we do. Like, sometimes I think we'll just start a business, we'll open it up, and people will just flood in, nonstop. And that's really not the reality. You have to start thinking of it as like, what is the problem I can solve in the marketplace? And is it something that not only I am passionate about, but something I am also good at, or can become good at over time. So I would drill down on like what's your talent, what's your strength, and then obviously find the passion behind that and deliver that to people. But what most people do is they kind of wait for things to just come along, and they'll wait until they have the time, or they'll wait until they have the money, or they'll wait until they have the resources. If you're out there and you're looking to do something different, maybe you're like working in the same career and it's fine, but you don't really love it, and you're looking to make a change. I don't know your situation. I don't know what bills you have or responsibilities you have. I think the earlier you can do it in your life, the better. The less you have to lose, obviously, the easier it's going to be. But sitting there and just waiting for, well, when I get X amount of money and I have X amount of time and I have X amount of resources, then I'll take a chance. The most successful people I know in entrepreneurship and running businesses, they make things happen now. The sooner, the better. And it's not enough to just like know what to do. It's you actually have to do the thing. You have to put yourself out there. You have to be proactive. It's no different than in fitness. Like you can't just know you have to do squats and push-ups and walk. You have to actually do the exercise. It's not enough to know you have to eat real food and not abuse drugs and alcohol. You actually have to follow through. It's the same thing in business. You have to actually be proactive with your marketing. You have to reply to the emails. You actually have to call customers. You must actually do the work and not just wait for the money to show up or the results to show up, because that's not reality. Like I'm a huge like affirmation person and we can say things all day, but you can't just sit there and be like, there's no snow, there's no snow, there's no snow. If there's snow in your driveway, you got to grab a shovel and actually shovel the snow. It works the same way for all of this. And all of you guys know that, but yet a lot of people just kind of sit and wait on the sidelines for like the perfect time to do something. And the reality is like there is no perfect time. You just have to go out and get motivated and take the first step. And if you can just show up, for most people, you're generally ahead of the majority of everybody else out there. Like if you can just show up and try consistently, you're probably going to be okay. We call it in our business just staying alive. Like there's people who might be here for 3-4 years as a client, and then eventually they leave, life happens. But if we can just, as we say, stay alive long enough, eventually like they come back around. Maybe it's a year later, 2 years later, 3 years later, because we just keep showing up. And for a lot of people, it's just presence, like the ministry of just presence and just being there. You're always there on time. You're always going to be available. You can always put in the extra effort. If you do that, and I don't care what you do, if it's insurance, if it's real estate, if it's fitness, you name it, you're going to be ahead of probably 99% of other people by just showing up and being available for other people every single day. Because if you think about it, successful people have an intolerance for mediocrity. And I think a lot of you are the same way. I think Eric Thomas probably coined it, the most famous version of this, like allergic to average is what he would call it. He would say something like, I hate being good. I want to actually be great. And it's the old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But if it could be better, it's as good as broken. And I think most of you who want to refine everything in your life, whether that be your marriage, like, oh, it's like if you ever watch Couples Retreat, they go in and they do all those little. It's a great fucking movie, by the way. Like if you go in and watch it, like Vince Vaughn's in there with his wife, and they're like, "How would you describe your marriage?" And they're like, "We get through things together." And you can just see like they're all comedians, obviously, but you just see the therapist's face is like, "That's interesting. You get through things together. Do you want to have a marriage where you just get through things together?" And I think a lot of us do that, not just that, but with our physical body or with our businesses. Like it's like what you're willing to tolerate. Like you're just getting by, and there'll be seasons of life where that happens, where you're doing just what you can do to keep your head above water. But for the most part, you want to be allergic to average. Like you want to be great. Or if you guys are, hip hop fans, Loonies, which is a popular rap group, at least when I grew up, they had this song called Killers on the Payroll. Like you want to surround yourself with other killers. Like if you were somebody who is like a real fit person, you want to surround yourself with fit people. If you're a person who is, super financially successful, you probably don't hang around with people who are, completely dead broke. It's like, and again, if you guys don't know Loonies, they have a song called I Got Five on It, which is about smoking weed. which is all fucking time, by the way. And if you've never heard that song, you never listened to it, you guys had a terrible childhood. I feel awful bad for you. Go to Spotify, download it, give it a full listen. But the point I'm driving at is they had this song called Killers on the Payroll. And it's like, that's how we talk about people here, like in the most positive way, where it's like, hey, what do you think about Mike? Well, Mike's a killer, dude. Like, I want to hang out with Mike. Like, I want to hang out with Matt. I want to hang out with BJ. Like, I want to have those people in my circle. I want to have them in my organization for one. In terms of my work life, I want to have them in my fitness life for sure. And then I want a lot of my friends to be the same way. It's like the old saying, like iron sharpens iron. You surround yourself with amazing people. And even if you find yourself like in the mix where you're not, let's say, working as hard as the people around you, eventually you're going to gravitate and level up towards that stuff. It's the old saying, like, you know, you're the average of the 5 people you hang out with essentially the most. And I believe that to be true. Like, you hang out in environments long enough with people long enough, you tend to gravitate towards them and just become better. And business is the same way. It's Dave and I's mastermind group, where him and I have a group of a bunch of amazing young fitness professionals, and these guys are all crushing in their own right. They're financially doing amazing. They're running great businesses. And yes, Dave and I are old as shit and been doing it a lot longer, but I've learned a lot from those guys, where it's like they'll say something and I'm like, oh, that's actually a really good idea. Like, let me take that and put that into my business. Or you just see like a younger energy that they have. I go, which kind of keeps you in the game and, like, I guess gives you a little bit of fuel for your fire and just keeps you going. I think it's important for everybody in everything you do. And so if you find yourself like in a rut in your fitness, look at the people you train with or talk about fitness with. If you find yourself in a rut in your career or in your job, are you the person to hang out with the 5 people at your workplace who are all like, for lack of a better term, like just negative as fuck and complaining and whining, and they're, you're 38 and you're hanging out with the 54-year-old who's essentially in a run out the clock situation where they're just hanging on for dear life, and they're salty and they're jaded by the industry and they don't want to be there. You have to kind of change your environment. And I've said this on this podcast a million times. You can't change the people around you, but you can change the people around you. So you can't change the people that are around you in terms of their attitude, but you can unsert yourself and put yourself into a different group of people. So now you did change the people around you. So moving environments for a lot of you guys is a huge thing. It's in anything you do. And obviously it's tough if you're like married to that person. I'm not telling you to leave them, but you do the best you can with the cards you have dealt. The next one on my list, you got to be decisive in a lot of these things and take action quickly. And if I'm talking about like business-wise, you got to fire fast, and then your hiring process is your hiring process. But if people suck in your organization, you have to get rid of them. You can't keep them if they're dragging you down. It kills the culture. It kills productivity. I know it's tough for people to do. You want to be the nice guy. You want to make everybody happy. But in business, there is no feelings. It's a machine and it has to run. And the same thing for everything else. Like, I opened this episode where talking about kind of midlife, and we think like midlife is 50. Sadly, for most of us, that's not reality. I don't know what percentage of people live to be 100. I want to say it's probably like 1 or 2%. Most of us, it's like, if you're a dude, it's like 72. I think women, it's closer to 74 because we do dumber shit as guys. I can attest to that. We get on giant ladders and do things that are not OSHA approved, and then we fall and we die and we drive faster. We just do dumb shit. I go, so if it's 72, if you're 36 years old, that's kind of like the midlife point. I don't like know what you're waiting for, in terms of like to take a chance or take a leap or do something different. And again, I don't know your situation of where you're at, but it would suck to like look back on your life wishing you would have done more with your opportunity and more with your time, especially if you have this itch or you have this inclination to take action. So whether that be, hey, you know what? This is the day I got to start eating better. I'm going to start moving more. I'm going to actually get myself out of debt. I'm going to start this side hustle or passion project. I'm actually going to leave this job, or I'm going to ask for promotion, or I'm going to kind of shift gears. Like, this would be the time to do it. And I say this a lot on here. You'll never have more time in your life than you do right now. I don't care how old you are, whether you're, 29 or you're 97. The clock is ticking and it's like an hourglass. It's flipped over. And if you're like me and you're 41, God willing, I live to be, 82-ish, I guess, but I'm under no, I guess, preconceived idea like the next 40 years are way easier or better than the first 40. Not that they can't be better, but I would imagine, Jeremy at 27 probably moves a little bit better and feels a little bit better than Jeremy at 77. I don't know for sure. I'm just guessing. Like, I was a savage at 27. At 77, I'd be lucky to not be shitting my pants. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, this is the time for you guys to take a chance and like take massive action, especially if it is your physical fitness. Like, start today, get a couple extra steps in, get your mobility in. And if you really want to do something career-wise, just put the pieces in motion. Like, just a couple of things, do a little bit of research, get on your phone. And the reason I say it is because we spend so much time, and we all are guilty of it. I try to keep my phone not in the same room as me when I'm not using it for work, because I can get sucked into the Reels vortex as well. And all of a sudden I'm like, 27 dog videos in, or I'm watching like, comedian videos or people getting hit by cars or whatever nonsense like it loops me into. And it's like, I don't want to watch this guy fall off a bicycle head first, but yet I do want to watch him do it. And then I laugh at it. Or like the girl who grabs a rope and she's going to swing into the lake, but actually stops short and then like hits the sand. It's like, I'll get sucked into those too for 17 minutes here, 22 minutes here. And it's like, I could have used that time. And again, there's a place for escapism for sure. But if you're looking to make a change in your life, you're like, well, I didn't have time for mobility, but yet I watched a guy get punched by a kangaroo 14 times on YouTube. It's like, no, you could have probably just, stretched your hamstrings a little bit at the same time. That's what I mean in terms of just taking decisive and quick action and being prepared when opportunities do come. And I do believe this. I'm not a financial genius. I'm just a fitness dummy in a warehouse. But it seems like the trajectory of everything can't keep going at this pace. And so it's like, if there is a gap in the economy or in the market and you guys are prepared and you can take advantage of it, then you're ready and you can act quickly when the time does arise. Just throwing it out there. The next on my list, just expect, anticipate, create, and embrace change, because it's going to happen no matter what. And it's happening around you, I think, at a pace that's more accelerated than ever's been before. And if you think about like tech itself, how AI is moving, how our buying and spending trends are moving, how everything's just kind of shifted, you have to be willing to kind of move with the times. And this goes for everything. We put it on the t-shirts here. Everything is temporary, both good and bad stuff. You're going to have good seasons of life and bad seasons of life. And you just have to expect that. And you have to just accept it and then be willing to change with the times. And if you don't, you become extinct, almost like the dinosaurs. And a lot of us didn't grow up with the things that are happening now, but you have to be kind of ready. And not that you have to live in fear of it, but just know how quick things are moving. Like, none of this stuff existed when I started this business. Like, there was no, like, Facebook was a thing, but it wasn't for businesses. It was just for college kids to videotape themselves getting shit-faced. Most of you guys remember. There was no Instagram. There was no TikTok. I don't know if LinkedIn existed. I sure as hell didn't use it. Like, a podcast would have been like Tom Green doing a podcast like a million years ago, and he had $100,000 of equipment set up. Now we can do it with, significantly less money and less time. Everybody and their brother has a podcast. Nobody had social media stuff for businesses. Now we all do. My point is that we've all kind of learned to evolve with the times as they go. And you have to be the same way. And there's old stuff that's tried and true. There's always going to be a place for community. There's always going to be a place for talking to people in person. Referrals are always going to be your number one source of building business. But all the other pieces do matter. Years ago, being on social and having all these digital platforms was like a luxury. Now it's a utility. You almost have to have it. It's like it becomes your business card. It becomes the way that you can contact people. So I think as you move through your business and you just move through life, it's important to just kind of keep up with the tech. I'm not saying you got to live or die by it, but and Heather's parents are great, and her dad is awesome. But for some reason, he doesn't want to use the GPS in the phone, and I don't understand it for the life of me. So we'll meet them for dinner, and they'll be like, we're going to be 10 minutes late. We got lost. I'm like, the phone tells you exactly where to go, and when you take a wrong turn, it will correct you. And if it tells you you're going to be there at 11:26, you're not going to be there at 11:46. It's literally there. So don't be like Heather's parents, everybody. Stay with the tech, stay with the times. It's important. And it's easy to get passed by, for sure. Not, if you don't want to be on TikTok, don't be on TikTok. That shit'll rot your brain. But the other tech stuff, again, it can be used for good. and you got to be able to roll with it, especially if you're in business and you don't want to be one of the dinosaurs. The next thing, which is probably one of the most important ones, and this is what I found to be true with all the people in every mastermind group I've been a part of, all the dudes that are in our groups, everybody that I do business with. And I've been lucky here to do this as a career for damn near 20 years. Not just the clients I serve, but the peers that I get to work with. And not just the small businesses, but some of the biggest brands that we've worked with here, from the Nikes to the Under Armours to the Reeboks to Men's Health when it was at its peak, like the golden era. It's extremely rare to find self-made, successful people who have not turned themselves into either master salespeople or master marketers. However you want to frame it, they figured out one of the two or both. And I think that's just part of it. And I'm not a salesy person. I don't like to think of myself that way. I don't think I hard sell. In fact, I can't. Like, how do I hard sell you on what this is here? I guess I could play to pain points here and be like, hey, you got to come in here and work out. But the reality is, like, we provide a service here, and it's the worst service in the world. You got to come in here and pay us money and do these awful workouts that are going to make you sweaty, tired, and tight. And they're not going to probably be fun for you unless you're like a complete lunatic like most of us. And that's what we're selling you. And oh, by the way, it's not guaranteed to make you look like Brad Pitt from Troy or Beyonce in her prime. Like, there's so many things. You got to sleep good. You got to eat right. You got to, like, it's tough to do. And oh, by the way, how long do I have to do this for, Jeremy? Well, until you're dead. Hey, man, I'm selling you a lifetime program of like just having to like work really hard. That's what we sell. Now, I market it in a different way, obviously, and we can make it like sound a little bit sexier, but essentially that's what that is. But anybody who's successful in their business, they've figured out how to market it and sell it to a way where it's least consumable and bite-sizable for people where they're willing to buy into it. Now, if that was my sales pitch when people came in here, I probably would have been in business in the first place. I can make it look a little bit sexier and sound a little bit sexier, but essentially that's it. And my point is that that's where you become a master at marketing it and selling it to people in a way that they can understand that they need it. It's important for them, and obviously it gets them to become consumers and customers for you. Like, lastly, on the business front here, and I'll get you guys off here hopefully on a positive note. I got a couple of notes here. But if you're a business owner and you're somebody who works for yourself, depending on what stage of business you're in, and there's going to be multiple stages where you're the owner, you're the manager, and you're the technician. And you might be all three all the time. Some days you might be two of the pieces. Some days you might be one of the pieces. But the reality is, like, that's what you are. There's a great book Michael Gerber put out. It's The E-Myth. Anybody who's looking to work for themselves, I highly recommend it. I make no money by saying that. I wish you would pay me some money for recommending it. But it's a great book, and it is super helpful. But there's a system in there where he talks about the different stages where when you first start out, you're basically everything. And I was too. And now at this point, 20 years in, I'm a little fortunate that I don't have to be all the things all of the time. And there is a system, it's an AED system. And for fitness people, I'm not talking about the automated external defibrillator that brings people back to life if they have a heart attack in your place, which, knock on wood, I've never had that yet. I've had some friends where it's been gnarly. I can't deal with that tomorrow. Please, God, I don't need it in my life right now. I got enough going on. But in terms of in business, the AED would be automate, eliminate, and delegate. And what that means is when you're in your business, depending on what year of the life cycle you're in, you automate the repetitive tasks. So the things that you're going to do on repeat that are kind of evergreen, you get those automated. So for us, we create funnels where there's thank you messages and things that I don't have to reinvent the wheel. If I did it once, I can do it multiple times. The things that are essentially copy and paste. You want to be able to automate those for yourself and for your team and for the people that serve you. The second one is eliminate. You got to eliminate the unnecessary tasks and the things that no longer serve you and your business and your team and your clients and consumers. And so just because you started off doing something doesn't mean you have to do it for the life of the business and the life of the customer and the client that you're working with. And the last one is you have to delegate. And the delegation is probably the toughest one Years ago, I used to think, well, nobody can do it better than me, so I'm just going to do it myself. And also, I didn't have any money, so that's, kind of the part of the game that you're in. But over time, you realize that it's horseshit. Like, you can't do everything better than everybody else. In fact, there's a lot of people who do a lot of things better than you, especially the things that don't require your unique skill. So you have to delegate the things that do not require your unique skill. And this can be done in your business, in your personal life, in your home, and everywhere. So here, I delegate a lot of the things to, let's say, Monica, who just does them better than me. She's faster, she's more efficient. They don't take any unique skill that I have that she doesn't have, and it makes my life 10,000 times easier. Same thing with Matt. Like, I delegate stuff to him. Sean is here filming right now. I could turn on the camera. That's probably about it. From there, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So that's not my thing. I go, so when you can offset those things, that's what you do. And also, like, if it's around your house, I don't know what your budget is or how much money you have. Here's my take with everything. And again, when I say stuff on here, I'm not telling you how to run your household. I'm just giving you what I do in my house and what works for me. This is a little marriage tip too. I've shared this before, maybe once or twice. I have a cleaning person come to our house. It's not that I don't do dishes. It's not that I don't vacuum and clean stuff at my house, but I'm not as proficient or as good as the cleaning crew. They come in, they scrub the toilets, they clean the shower, they wipe the countertops, they do all the things. That is me delegating a task that it's not uniquely special to me. In fact, they're way better than me, and that saves me time, and it saves me energy, and it saves me, honestly, having to argue with my wife. I do the same thing with our pool. We have a pool guy. He comes, cleans the pool, puts the chemicals in. If something goes wrong, I can call him and talk shit to him. That way, Heather doesn't yell at me when I fuck it up. These types of things are things that you can delegate. And again, it just makes life easier. I would, for me personally, that's what I think money is. I know a lot of people, like, you invest it, you save it, you get it to work for you. I understand all that stuff. But also, like, I would drive a less fancy car. I would wear less fancy clothes. I'd eat at less fancy dinners. I would not have a designer bag if it meant I could pay people to help around my house save me time. So that when I do have free time, it's actually free. So I'm not working my dick off here 100 hours a week and then going home and screaming at Heather and her screaming at me because we have to do all these house tasks every single day. Like, that's the way that I look at, like, delegation and using my money to the best of my advantage. Now, again, I don't know what your budget is. I don't know what you guys can do. I go, but to me, that just works better. And also, I just sometimes want to be lazy and I don't want to do stuff because I got to clean stuff around here too. Even though we have cleaning people here, it's like sometimes these guys are lazy here. They don't put their weights away. They leave chalk on the floor. It's like having 200, kids essentially. And enough's enough. So that's my take on AED. Automate, eliminate, delegate in your business, in your life. It makes things much easier. And also, for a lot of you, and this goes for personal as well as business, you got to say no. Every opportunity is not for you. Every event and every party is not for you. And you got to let go of the shit that no longer serves you guys. Especially if it's a season of life where you got a lot of stuff going on, you can say no. You don't have to be a yes person. You don't have to have FOMO. I know a lot of people suffer from that. I'm exactly the opposite. If you don't invite me to something, I think it's great because then I don't have to say no or pretend and make up a reason why I can't go. Then this is my take on it. And I think if you think of that in your fitness too, like, just because you can do stuff doesn't mean it's good for you. You know what I mean? Like, if we're talking your physical body, just because you can deadlift 500 pounds doesn't mean you need to in your 40s. Like, just because you can, do box jumps on a wood or metal box to fatigue doesn't mean you should, until you can't get off the ground and your shin scrapes and now it looks like something from, a fucking Saw movie. Like, that's not good for you. Or like your Achilles becomes unattached because your ankles and your calves are so tight you didn't do the mobility, yet you just were doing box jumps for reps like you were 22 years old, but you're 52 years old. Like, it's okay to say no. It's okay to take it easy some days. It's the same thing in your career. It's the same thing in your business, in your relationships, and pretty much anything in your life. sometimes you need to let go of like the person you were to become the person you are or the person that you need to be. And that's a hard thing to do, you know, especially when it's your physical fitness or your relationship or your careers. And I think it's a healthy thing to do as well. And you got to know like what season of life you're in. There's no need to overload yourself and do way more than is necessary, especially when you guys are already dealing with so much. So if you know the load you're carrying with you through life right now and this season is insanely tough and it's difficult, just say no. Take a step back. Take some time for you. And if I tie it into fitness, obviously because this is a fitness podcast, essentially, it's okay to have weeks or multiple weeks or seasons where the workouts are easier, where you're not doing as much, where if you used to train hard 5 days a week, maybe you're doing 3 like total body workouts that are challenging, and the other days you're just doing mobility and walking and giving your body a chance to heal and repair. It's easier on the joints. It's just easier on you in general because you have 47 different things going on in this season of life. And that's what I mean. So if you needed a pass or permission, it's okay. Now, obviously, if you've been taking it easy for the last 3 years, maybe stop being such a fucking turd and actually train. But if it's not that, like, just listen to your body and know it's okay to say no. And you don't have to go 0 to 100, 24/7, 365. And for a lot of you guys, if you're an entrepreneur and you've been looking to do something different, or you're in a business and maybe your business has been going on for 5 years or 10 years or 15 years, and it's struggling right now and things just haven't taken off and it hasn't reached the amount of quote unquote success financially you want it to reach just yet, or it's in a rough season because the economy and the world and everything is weird, and just know like everything for us doesn't crush all the time. Like I'll be transparent with that. Like our business does great because you know, essentially John Wick. Like I just show up and someone killed my dog and I have to kill everybody else. So I'll come here and be here 15 hours a day, every day if I have to. I go, but that's not realistic for most people. And there's a price I pay where Heather and I talk about time and balance and all that shit. I go, but that's me. But still there's seasons where we do really, really well. And there's seasons where things don't go as well. That's the ebb and flow of entrepreneurship and businesses. So just know what you see on the internet. Everybody is not always happy and always crushing all the time. So if you find yourself in a rough season right now, maybe it's just not your time just yet, or the season is going to change. And the example I give is, if you guys remember Fight Club, and again, if you've never seen Fight Club, I don't even know how you're alive right now. Like, I don't know what type of existence you've lived, because this thing came out in 1999. And it is, I don't know if it's the greatest movie ever, but if I list like my top 10 movies, it is easily in my top 5 personally. American Psycho is great because Christian Bale as Patrick Bateman is just an all-time performance. But Fight Club is utterly amazing. If you've never seen it, please go out and watch it. Just buy it on Prime. You'll watch it 50 times. You'll learn something new every single time. We have multiple quotes around our office about it. But the point is, Fight Club comes out. I'm weaving this all back in. You guys are going to, trust me, I'm not completely crazy. When Fight Club comes out, 1999, the Venice Film Festival, it's heavily booed. So they show this movie. The audience fucking boos it. They think Fight Club sucks. It's a terrible movie. As this is happening, Brad Pitt turns to Edward Norton, who are the two main stars, and says, "This is absolutely the best movie I'm ever going to be part of." Because he knew at the time, this is a gem. Like this is a fucking masterpiece that we created. And it just needed time. They just needed to be in front of the right audience, and they just had to give it time. It wasn't the right season. The people in the audience weren't ready for it. They didn't know what was going on. But as time went on, that has become, I don't even want to call it a cult classic, because I think most people who are listening who have watched it know it's just like the amount of life lessons in there from Tyler Durden himself. Like, you could literally create a whole book about it. We've done a full podcast on, I think we did a whole podcast on like life lessons from Tyler Durden, actually. You guys can go back and find it. But the point is that it has to be the right audience and it has to be the right time. And so if you guys are working and it hasn't popped just yet, just give it time. and know that it'll happen. You just do your thing. Now, the last couple things here before I let you go, I think I got some notes here. Okay, these are two big things. You got time, Sean? I'm good. I think Heather gave me like the bird flu or something because she's been sick. She went on this work trip. My nose is running right now. Like I snorted about a Scarface pile of cocaine, which I did not. I'm not going to blow my nose here right now, but I'm doing the best I can to cut through. I'm a champion. I'm going to fight through for you guys. That's why I'm here. But my nose is running like crazy. Lastly, I know I talk a lot about investing and saving on here and just kind of living within your means and being responsible. And obviously I believe that. I've lived my life by it. But I also realize like life is short. And so maybe one day you just wake up and you say, fuck it. And you drain your family's 401k and you build that dream garage with your dream gym in there. And you engrave your PRs on your tombstone because that's real legacy, my friends. Nobody cares about how much money you die with, but they'll remember your max bench and your max squat and your max deadlift. I'm kidding, but that would be awesome. I'm mostly kidding. Those things do matter. I saw that on Instagram on like a Sorinex Instagram, and what they actually did was they took Dave Ramsey's picture, like from a Twitter account, and they made a fake Twitter post, and it was like drain your family's 401k, build your dream garage gym, and have your PRs engraved on your tombstone. And the guy's just like lifting like just a shit ton of weights, and I was like, that's funny, but also I think that's super awesome. Like I do think if I die, you should put my 600-pound deadlift on my tombstone, like so my kids know, like, hey man, you lived a life. Anyways, my point was, life is short. Obviously, you guys, and as we kind of come up on like the weird election shit, and you know me, I'm not a political person. There's no way I could possibly learn enough or know enough. I think what I think. I believe what I believe. I've always said this. I think it matters way more what happens at your house than what happens at the White House. Because at the end of the day, I don't think any of these people give a shit about me personally. No one's ever called me before they made decisions at the White House. Hey, Jeremy, what do you think about what they don't do that. I'm a gorilla who works in a warehouse and I teach jumping jacks and bear crawls for a living. And what I would tell you is this: don't spend a single second of your life, you guys, arguing with strangers on the internet about politics. Like, it's nonsense. And I don't care if you're passionate about it and you care about it and you want to put signs in your yard or have flags on your truck. Like, I think that's all cool. I want you to do what you think is best for you. I really do. But don't spend time arguing with people that you would never take advice from or you would never let sit in your home. You can spend that time literally doing anything else. Like, you can spend that time playing with your kids. You can spend that time talking to your spouse. You can spend that time building your business. You can spend that time chasing those PRs that they need to engrave on your tombstone. You know what I'm saying? Like, anything else is more productive than that bullshit. I really believe that. And again, you do what you want. I'm not telling you what to do, but I promise you, like, you're never going to look back on the end of your life, and be 88 years old or 92 years old and be like, you know what? I wish I would have spent more time on Twitter talking shit about the 2024 election. Like, that's just not what we do. I'm not saying you can't be passionate about it or not care about it, but man, like, that ain't what life's about, dude. It's about a lot more stuff than that. Like, have your beliefs, really be convicted by it, and you can talk about it, but screaming at other people, it doesn't change their mind, and it just wastes the precious time that you really don't have give away. And the last thing I'll leave you with here is a note. I found this on Instagram a couple of months ago. I don't know the originator. I tried to Google it a bunch of times, and I couldn't find it. It was just on a bunch of different random IG accounts, and I thought it was super beneficial for you guys, and it kind of ties into the entire episode today, which this episode has been about everything and been about nothing. So hopefully you got some value from it for sure in terms of running a business and just your life in general, just basic lessons you can kind of take with you. But the IG post goes like this, and I quote, "One day, just like that, you shut your eyes for the last time, and it's game over. And there's a pretty good chance that there's nothing after that. No do-overs, no second chances, just nothing. And you cease to be. Now imagine that's coming, and you only have a few minutes before you close your eyes. Do you think you'd look back happy knowing you spent years doing a job you hate, or stayed in an environment that wasn't right for you, whether that be at your work or at your home, or that you didn't travel to that place you really wanted to visit, or because, saving a few $100 was the sensible thing to do. Do you think you'd be proud that you held a grudge with people in your life for so long that now you can't make it right? Or you'd be proud that you were too busy to make time to have a conversation with your parents more often? Or that you never really told people how you truly felt? Do you think you look back happy knowing you didn't chase your dreams because you were just too scared to? Like, if you think about it, you have one shot in this life. Yet we're still so scared to truly live. The odds of you being a human is 1 in 400 trillion. And the fact that you could be born in this era, in this time, is so fucking rare. But the odds of death are certain for all of us. Yet we treat life as the certainty. Tomorrow always comes, right? Until it doesn't. So get out there, my friends, and just start living your life. That's it. Simple message. Hopefully for a lot of you guys, it hits a little different. The point of all these episodes when we do these is, one, people cancel on me, so I have to come up with something. But in reality, too, it's if you're somebody who wants to do something out there. I know a lot of you have a good circle of people around you, and there's a lot of positivity and a lot of people in your life who can talk you up. But I know there's a huge chunk of you that don't have that. And you don't have a great support system, and you don't have people that believe in you, or you believe that you're stuck in a certain environment or a certain place. And I don't know your individual situation, but the fact that like this business exists and it's my dumb name on the front door is crazy to me. It was just a stupid idea in my head where I didn't want to hate my Wednesday, and it turned into this amazing, awesome life. And really, the only thing that I have different maybe than you is that I'm just so fucking stubborn and so stupid that I'll work my fucking face into the ground. And I won't quit until literally I almost pass out. Other than that, most of you are much more talented than me, and you're much smarter than me. And you have just as many resources as I've ever had, if not more so. So you can do something amazing with your life. So if you feel like you're stuck in a dead-end job or a dead-end relationship and you don't want to do this, you can change it if you want to. And life is very short, my friends. And if you're healthy right now and you're listening to this and you want to do something different, now's the time to take a chance. And if you need some help, reach out to us. I'm happy to offer whatever, kind of guerrilla brain guidance I can give you. I'm happy to do it. But hopefully you got something from this, whether you start a business or want to, or just in life in general, and you find yourself in a tough spot. Just know we all go through it. Everything is temporary. And if you're in some shit right now, my friends, it will change. It might not feel like it will, but I promise you, it definitely does. I lived through a really shitty year last year myself, and now I feel like a rock star. And I'm thankful for it, as weird as that sounds. And I wasn't saying I was thankful for it when I was through it, but right now that it's over, it's probably one of the best things that ever happened to me. Heather and I will come on and talk about it more on a different episode, but hopefully from these episodes you get a little spark or motivation to just go out and live your life and not waste it arguing on the internet or being worried or scared that you can't take a chance or you can't change something or you can't do something. So if nothing else, get up, go out today, chase some PRs, because those things matter, especially when you put them on your gravestone. So I thank you guys as always. Hopefully you got something from this. If you're watching on YouTube, I appreciate it. Like, share, subscribe. If you guys are on Spotify podcast, drop it a 5-star, leave a review. If you're on Apple Podcast, 5-star it, drop a review there. If you guys want a free week on the app, you can always get it. Link is in the show notes. If you want a free sample of AG1, it is out there as well. I'm happy to send it to you guys. I don't care what state, country, province you live in. We'll get you the free samples. If you're not eating enough fruits and vegetables, it's the easiest solution and it's the best tasting in my opinion. And if you think it sucks, you can message me back later and talk shit to me, but it's completely free. So what do you got to lose? Anything else you guys need is in the show notes. I'll be back probably next week or so. And then we got a bunch of people coming down the pipe. Doug White's coming in here. Heather's coming in here. I'm going to try to get Ben in here, Chris, and a bunch of other fun people here. But I got to blow my nose really bad, and I'm tired. So that's going to be it for me today. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you as always. And until next time, eat well, train hard, be nice to people. And please, you guys, keep doing things you love with people you enjoy because your life is too short not to. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.